So essential oils are something that we use every day even though we might not realize it. They're in products such as perfumes, colognes, fragrances, soaps, shampoos, conditioners, and they're even used for methods of healing, as we've discussed a little bit in class before, and in aromatherapies and for homeopathic methods. Regardless of whether they work in all the ways they're said to or not, which is vast, the article Steam Distillation Modeling for Essential Oil Extraction Process, an article published in 2009 by Industrial Crops and Products, states that essential oils have a strong contribution on the international market, mainly as additives in the production of perfume, but also in food manufacturing and beverage and ice cream flavoring. So today I'm going to walk you through how essential oils are made through steam distillation process and show you that apparatus and how they're used. And I've performed this experience myself in my chemistry class in high school twice, so I've actually gotten to walk through this step by step, and it's a surprising amount of work for a very small yield. So on the screen now, you'll see the distillation apparatus. So the first thing I want to point out is the round bottom flask that says that there are ground spices and water in it. In my experience, it was water and orange peels. The article Valorization of Citrus Byproducts Using Microwave Steam Distillation, published by Innovative Food Science and Emerging Technologies in 2011, writes that citrus byproducts represent a problem for management, pollution, and environmental issues. Citrus juice byproducts are mainly constituted by peels, seeds, fruit pulp, which provide great potential for further processing. Next, you'd also need a heating mantle underneath that round bottom flask in order for the steam to rise and the vapors to form, and you'd also have a thermometer sticking out. You'll also see the condenser, which is that long diagonal tube going down to a second round bottom flask, and you can think of that as two glass tubes. The whole apparatus is made of glass, and so the vapor would be going through the inner tube, and water would be going along the inner tube, but held within that outside tube. And you'll see that there's a point where it says water out and water in, and I'll explain why that is later. But there are hoses that would be connected to that. To the water in, the hose would be connected there, and to a faucet, and for water out, it would be connected to where it says that, and then just in a sink to let the now warmer water go out. There's also the second round bottom flask, which can be a round bottom flask, but it could also be a beaker or a conical flask, just to let the distillate, which is the mix of the water and the oil, collect at the end. So now I'm going to talk about how it works. So Kodama writes in a 2014 article titled Enhancement of Essential Oil Extraction for Steam Distillation that during distillation the peel is exposed to steam and releases essential oils into the vapor phase. As the steam and essential oils vapors are condensed, they are collected and separated into water and oil phases. This process basically works because the water and whatever else you have in the flask are immiscible, which means they don't mix. So water's polar, the oil is nonpolar, so it's like oil and vinegar and how they can't mix together. And so when the vapors rise due to the heat, the cold water that I mentioned going through the hoses puts those vapors back into their liquid phase so that they can go through the condenser and fall into the second round bottom flask. And like I said, which works, and they won't mix together because they're immiscible. So as stated in the Journal of Cleaner Production by Masengo in 2005, the oil is less dense than the water, and so it forms the top layer of the distillate. So the top layer is the oil, and the bottom layer is the water. And this isn't quite the end of the process, because there is one more tool we need to use, which is the separating funnel. So that's where you'll put the distillate in a separating funnel, and you'll also add a chemical compound, ethyl acetate, which will help separate the two layers even more. From there, you can drain out the water that's at the bottom and be left with just the oil. There will definitely be errors though, so you'll need to go through this several times to make sure you have pure oil. And let me tell you, it takes an exceptional amount of initial product to create much oil at the end. In my experience, we were left from the apparatus with 50 milliliters of distillate, but only produced 1 milliliter of actual essential oil. So it's a lengthy process, and I was hoping that through this presentation that you could learn to appreciate these everyday products that we use and see that there's definitely chemistry behind them and a lot of work.
Hey, Emma, how did it go?
I felt good about it.
What?
I felt good about it.
Okay. What was good about it? What was you like?
It was kind of fun to talk about just because throwback to high school and it's something that I've done before. Yeah, and I liked chemistry class, so.
All right. Okay, teammates, if you could.
Okay.
I don't know if you did anything.
No, we did. Right. I should stop.